Hello, merry meet. So I want to review a book. The book I want to review is this one, Hex and Spellwork, The Magical Practices of Pennsylvania Dutch by Karl Herr. And I did like this book, but there is one thing I want to address right at the start which makes me somewhat skeptical of it. So let's just find it. We'll go through the index and such later. Let me just find that one thing. Because there is something where it says Karl Herr is the pseudonym of a well-known writer on the subject of magic and spells. His persona in this book is based on his own experience and the stories and knowledge gained from other Pennsylvania Dutch Hexenmeisters. Therefore, this is not a work of fiction, nor is it in the journalistic or scientific sense true. Now, I have no problem with authors having pseudonyms and such. However, the way this book is presented is basically this Hexenmeister that tells his stories, all from his childhood, how his grandfather was apprenticed to this old Pow Wow, and all of that. And when it doesn't really present, when it basically says, well, that persona, it's not real, then sort of a lot of the book is then drawn into question. So, with that out of the way, which is the one thing I have an issue with this book, let's get going. We have an introduction, which basically introduces the author and what the book is about, tradition of the work, health and healing, and the painted magic of the Hex Signs, which do actually give you enough information to get you started. It's not like it has every symbol in there, but it gives you enough information to get started and how you might use this in your daily life, which I really like. The spoken magic of spellwork, the written magic of the Himmelbrief, the magic of natural objects, the superstition of practical reality afterward, and suggestions for future reading. Now, the two sections I liked the most in this book is the one on the Himmelbriefs, the magical letters, which is a tradition within Pennsylvania Dutch, where basically you have somebody, a magical person, writing out a letter. And they include a lot of references to God, Jesus, and their mythology. And then people believe that carrying this letter around with them protects them from harm. There are several magical traditions that have this concept, but it is very prevalent in the Pennsylvania Dutch Pow Wow tradition. Just adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. So yeah, I like that section. It is pretty thorough, and I really want to try this out now. I also very much liked the section on the hex signs. You see some hex signs here. It contains symbolism among color, as well as some guidelines for how to draw them. And I mean, they're not just used on barn walls, but also you can draw them and hang them on your wall. You could embroider them and carry them with you in your clothes, and so on and so forth. It's pretty good. Now, with anyone who is getting into this particular tradition, know that it is a Christian one, and it is a very fundamental Christian one. No, by all means. This author, he shows a remarkable tolerance towards other paths, including that he has met a lot of people who are pagans, Wiccans, and such, and expresses several times in this book that he has nothing against them and that they are not doing evil. On the other hand, it is a very fundamentalist path, which bases itself on sin and hellfire, and how if you don't do everything the Bible says, God are gonna torture you. And that doesn't jive very well with me, but the system itself is very interesting. For the most part, it is healing charms here. It does contain a little bit about herbalism, but he expresses that is not a part of the Pow Wow tradition as itself, though I have seen other sources where it is a part of it. But he focuses on the words. It is basically a system where you read verses over people. This is very common in a lot of different types of folk magic. He has done away with that idea that you have to come back after basically you say the verse 2 times one day and then you come back the next day. It's a little bit more modern, a little bit more practical, while still keeping it within traditional bounds, which I do like. The book is very easy to read. It's a good author, and so the information is assimilated quickly, and it flows very well. I would say this is a very good introduction to Pennsylvania Dutch Pow Wow and systems that are close to it. If you're interested in this system, whatever you're going to be using it in the pure form, or if you're going to make a pagan version of it, as for example Sybil Ravenwolf have done, this is a good book to start with, and I did really enjoy reading it. So yeah, that is my review of Hex and Spellwork, the magical practices of the Pennsylvania Dutch. Like I said, written by Karl Herr, or at least that's what it says there, and it's published by Weiser. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review. Have a great day, and blessed be.